Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something really incredible. We are traveling back in time to Prince Edward County, Canada West, what we'd call Ontario today, and the year is 1844. We're going to take a deeply immersive look into the daily lives, the seasonal farming cycles, and the community traditions of one specific family, the Abraham Kemp household. We're going to see exactly what it took to carve out a prosperous life on the frontier, tracking their relentless journey through a single year.
Okay, let's dive right into this. I want you to ask yourself, honestly, right now, could you survive a year on the 1844 frontier? Imagine a raw, back-breaking reality where your very survival is entirely dictated by the changing of the seasons. We're talking no grocery stores, no modern medicine, and absolutely no central heating. Your life, your food, and your comfort depend completely on your own physical labor and the cooperation of your family and neighbors. To truly understand their world, we have to look at the 1844 agricultural calendar. Our journey today follows this exact cycle. We've got spring for planting, summer for growing, autumn for the harvest, and winter for indoor preparation. So let's start where the earth wakes up. Spring awakening and relentless work. As we move into April 1844, the weak but persistent sun finally begins to thaw the frozen mud of Prince Edward County. The quiet of winter totally shatters, and the urgent, relentless, back-breaking work of spring officially begins. At the head of this massive operation are Abraham and Sarah Kemp. Abraham is 48 years old, a veteran of the War of 1812, which is actually how he earned his Crown land grants in the first place. His back aches a lot more than it used to, but there is simply no time to complain. Beside him is his wife Sarah, 42 years old and a mother to 9 children. Her face is lined, her hands are calloused, but her spirit is completely unbroken. Together, they oversee a bustling cabin of kids ranging from 21-year-old Marianne all the way down to baby Sarah Jane, who isn't even a year old yet. Now, to survive, this family had to function under a very strict division of labor. The men, Abraham and his older sons Stephen, William Henry, and 13-year-old James Abraham, were out there plowing fields, harrowing soil, and splitting rails. Young James actually struggled with the heavy plow, pushed to do a grown man's work. Meanwhile, the women's labor was just as nonstop. Sarah and Marianne were up way before dawn. They had to kindle the vital kitchen fires, and losing that fire meant a frantic trip to a neighbor's just to relight it. And they tended the kitchen garden, all while watching the toddlers. And women's work meant laundry day. So the next time your washing machine beeps, I want you to consider Pioneer Laundry Day. It was an event of sheer physical exhaustion. First, hauling heavy water from the well and heating it in this massive iron kettle over an open fire. Then scrubbing heavy, dirt-caked work clothes against rough wood washboards. Then rinsing them in multiple waters, manually wringing out every single heavy piece of fabric by hand, and finally, hanging them to dry. It was a relentless, all-day process for Sarah and Marianne that left their bodies absolutely aching.
You might be wondering, well, what about school for all these children? Actually, formal schooling took a backseat to farm work. There was basically no regular school within walking distance, so education was mostly home-based. Abraham taught his sons practical field mathematics, like how to calculate field sizes and seed yields, because, as he said, a man who cannot figure cannot manage his property. Beyond that, the family's Wesleyan Methodist faith provided their academic foundation, with the older children teaching the younger ones to read, using the Bible as their primary textbook.
Summer prosperity and community. Now, as we flip the calendar to June, the crops are growing tall, the days are warmer, and the family's spirits definitely lift. But summer brings its own challenges. You've got weeds growing just as fast as the crops and insects threatening the vital vegetables. It requires absolute, constant vigilance. To tackle these massive summer tasks, pioneers relied on the work bee. Now, this wasn't just a quaint little gathering. It was an absolute survival tactic on the frontier. No pioneer family, not even one as large as the Kemps, could accomplish everything entirely on their own. By gathering together, they shared resources, shared labor, and essentially ensured each other's survival. Picture a June fence-building bee. Dozens of neighbors, like the nearby Knapp and Rose families, descend on the Kemp farm. The men tackled the heavy lifting of repairing and extending field fences. The women prepare massive feasts. We're talking bread, cheese, butter, pies, and endless cider. And for the youth, well, this was a rare chance for entertainment. Marianne could talk fashion, William Henry could show off his growing muscle, and young folks could finally socialize and flirt away from the isolation of their own cabins, all while consuming thousands of calories to fuel their grueling labor. The late summer crisis.
The prosperity of summer was always fragile, and as late summer arrives, we see a drastic shift in tone. Unexpected dangers always lurked just beneath the prosperous surface of frontier life.
Which brings us to a crucial question. What do you think was the greatest threat to a pioneer family? You might think it was starvation or brutal weather or wild animals. But despite all their back-breaking outdoor labor, the most terrifying moments for the Kemp family actually happened right inside the cabin walls. In August, a severe crisis hit. 3-year-old Andrew fell ill with a terrible fever. For 3 gripping days and nights, Sarah barely left his side, constantly applying cool cloths to his forehead. Everyone in the household knew that on the frontier, a child's illness could easily turn fatal. The shadow of child mortality was just always present. Thankfully, on the 4th day, little Andrew's fever broke, and Abraham offered quiet, deeply relieved prayers of thanksgiving at service the following Sunday. Autumn, harvest, and celebration. With the crisis averted, the family welcomes the arrival of September and October. This is the frantic climax of the agricultural year. It's harvest time, and absolutely everyone in the family works from dawn until dusk.
Now, Abraham's leadership extended well beyond his own family. When he hired extra laborers for the harvest, he used it as a teaching moment for his older sons, Stephen and William Henry. He told them, "Work them hard but fairly. A man who's treated harsh will do just enough to avoid a beating, nothing more." It really shows how managing people with respect was just as crucial to a successful farm as the physical labor itself.
And the labor was immense. Cutting and binding grain by hand, processing mountains of vegetables to store in sand in the root cellar, boiling apples into apple butter, and drying beans and peas. 13-year-old James Abraham worked so hard during this specific harvest that he felt his body literally transform from a boy into a laboring man, his hands gaining the permanent calluses of a lifelong farmer. When the massive undertaking of the harvest was finally complete, the emotional relief was profound. In October, the local Methodist community threw a harvest festival. The meeting house was decorated with dried corn husks and gourds. Families proudly display their preserved foods as evidence of their survival and prosperity. After a Thanksgiving service, there was a massive feast with cider, and the young people danced to fiddle and harmonica music. It was a beautiful, necessary boost to the community's morale. Winter preparation and quiet. But the celebration is brief, because November quickly arrives with a biting cold. The family must abruptly pivot. The fields are barren now, and the focus turns strictly to indoor preservation and surviving the brutal Canadian winter. Part of this preparation involved incredibly foul-smelling and dangerous chores, like making soap. Marianne and Sarah would execute a delicate 3-step process. First, rendering tallow, or animal fat, from the recent meat slaughters. Second, carefully producing lye from wood ash. And third, mixing them together. But they had to be incredibly careful here. A single mistake or splash with the lye could result in severe, agonizing chemical skin burns. Suddenly, picking up a bar of soap at the store feels like a luxury, doesn't it? By December, the intense outdoor labor finally eases. I want you to picture the cozy, quiet relief of a winter evening in the Kemp cabin. The family is gathered safely around a bright fire. Sarah and Marianne are spinning wool into yarn. Abraham is mending leather harnesses. The younger children's eyes are heavy with sleep as they listen to Abraham tell stories of his time in the War of 1812. It's a crucial time of passing down their heritage and moral values. And as they sat around that fire, there was a silent reality looming over them, the number 10. As 1844 came to a close, Sarah was carrying her 10th child. She mentioned it only in passing, quietly bearing the immense physical toll of her 10th pregnancy while continuing her relentless daily chores. As she simply put it, the good Lord provides. So, as the snow falls over Prince Edward County, the Kemps close 1844 with a deep, hard-won contentment. They own their land, their children have survived the year's illnesses, they have a strong community that values them. But looking forward, the world around them is shifting. Whispers of the approaching railroad coming to Canada West are spreading, and distant American territories are beckoning the older boys. Which leaves us with this final thought. The Kemp family thrived through their intense, self-reliant seasonal cycle in 1844. But as railroads arrive, as technology advances, and as the world rapidly modernizes, how much longer could this isolated pioneer way of life truly last? It's a fascinating question to ponder. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope you walk away with a newfound appreciation for the incredible resilience of the 1844 frontier family.